Okay. Have you ever been in an environment where you felt so incredibly out of place? Do you have a place in mind? Where does that question take you? Maybe it's to a bar that you went to, even though you don't drink, or to a dinner at a fancy restaurant that you went to for the first time on a special occasion. Or maybe, just maybe, it's at home in your bedroom on a Zoom call giving a speech. Now, what happens if that environment becomes your everyday, day to day life? Hi, my name is Giovanni, and I'm a combat veteran. I served in the military for about a decade, and for the last 2 years, I've been transitioning back to being a civilian. I'm currently 31 years old, and if you don't believe that, thank you. And I believe that to understand who I am, the easiest way to do that would be to understand how that experience has affected the person I am today. So, what does it mean to be a combat veteran? Well, I believe it means that you're granted, albeit in a not great way, a unique look into the human condition, one that inevitably changes certain perspectives you have of life, such as the things we stress about, the things we worry about, how we express gratitude, and even our concept of time. Okay. In some ways, it can be incredibly isolating because it feels like you're a part of this group that has an altered outlook, and it clashes constantly with an unaltered outlook of a civilian. And the hardest part I've found about transitioning back to being a civilian is actually losing that sense of comfort and safety that came from knowing an environment so well. Because at first it feels incredibly disorienting and frightening. It feels like, the shoulder that used to prop you up is no longer there. And it takes time to get used to this new way of living without that comfort of understanding. And so, time is a funny thing because in the military, you look at time as such a negative, right? Like how much time we have left on shift, how much time is left until our contract ends, how much time we lose because we're constantly getting called in on our days off. And so when I left the military, time took on a totally new perspective for me. Instead of looking at it in terms of time as the concept itself, it became time as it relates to the schedule of my life. And what I mean by that is that it was time as it relates to how far along my life path I was in comparison to everyone else. And what that does is it causes a sense of self-doubt. And in a way, I diminished a lot of what I had experienced and um, the years that I spent in a successful career because they didn't necessarily correlate to my civilian present. And so finally, as cliche as it sounds, I really do believe that we all are on a journey of self-discovery. And I believe that my life has existed in three phases. One being the person I was before the military, and the second being the person I became in the military, and third, the person I'm discovering myself as now after those experiences. And so, while I still struggle, I do believe with my perspective, I will one day reach a time where the thing that gives me, or the place that I find to be the most discomforting, would be just trying a new hobby. That's all. Thank you.
Gio, that was incredible. I have so many ways that you can take that, in my opinion, and like turn this into a TED Talk. I mean, there's 13 different ways that you could take these incredible dynamic stories and perspectives that you have, and the powerful speaker that you are, and how poised you are in being able to express and articulate such big concepts and thoughts and feelings. You could do so very, very much if you ever wanted to take on just one of those opportunities. So I'll give you some feedback on that later. So let's move on, but thank you so much for sharing. An awesome job. Judith. Okay, we will come to our last friend. I'm going to replace this pin here.